Welcome to Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today we have with us Elizabeth Benton. How are you, Elizabeth?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. I'm so happy that you took the time to come on the show. I'm fascinated for all the stuff that you do and how you give back to people with this mindset stuff because it's so important. But I'll allow you to kind of get into introducing yourself, what you're involved with.
Absolutely. So I am the host of the Primal Potential podcast. I've been podcasting since 2014, which feels like a long time to me, but I know there are people that have been OG long before that. I started my work really focused around things like metabolism and hormones and nutrition. And after doing that work for many years, I realized that the issue that's keeping people from their goals really isn't tactic or strategy. I mean, we live in a day and age where you can find a million plans or approaches, whether we're talking about starting a business, growing a business, losing weight, improving your fitness, getting out of debt, doesn't matter. That is out there, that is free. People know the nuts and bolts, but it's the way that we think that gets in the way. And after working with thousands of clients, I was like, we need to work on that, because I don't know about you, but whether it's been when I was getting out of debt or when I was building a business or any number of other things, I tried lots of different approaches, and I would pick one path and then I would either get frustrated or I would be inconsistent and then I would switch. It must not work. I couldn't agree more. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that when we do that, we are jumping from one thing to the next, ignoring the fact that it's the things that get in our way that we need to address, because otherwise the same barriers and the same obstacles and the same frustrations follow us. So for
no matter what strategy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And no matter what goal, right? Whether we're talking about weight loss or fitness or business, it's the same things. And for me, I learned that when I lost about 130 pounds, and I was like, before really finding success there, I remember thinking, why is it that I can be so motivated and disciplined in my career, but I'm not applying motivation and discipline to my health when I felt like that mattered so much more? I wanted success there so much more. And it frustrated the heck out of me, because some days I'd be like, well, I'm just not motivated. But then I thought, well, I'm the first one into work. I'm the last one to leave. I'm doing all these things there. What is it? And it comes down to the way we think, because every single choice we make in every area of our life is driven by how we think. And most of us just go about thinking about things the same way and dealing with the same frustration. So that's really where my passion for helping people become better thinkers came in, because I think the word mindset is appropriate, but overused to the point that people have no idea how to do anything with it. Right. How do I do mindset work on a random Tuesday? What does that look like? And so I really wanted to make it tactical and tangible and applicable in every area of life. And I love helping people do that, because it changes everything.
Yeah, it's so true. And I love it as well. And that's the basis of the transformation that I went through as well. I can relate to, because I was at around 310 pounds. So, I was always fluctuating. So I was always lose 100. I lost 100. And then I, when go back, it was like a seasonal thing. My friends used to say, what's going on? In the summertime, you're fit, and it's winter, you're big. So I didn't have that mindset.
Yeah.
But mindset is so broad, like you mentioned, because I need to know how. Yeah. Tell me how to do it. How do I do my mornings, afternoons, evenings? How do I make sure I change those fundamental thoughts that are going through me first, so I can change and make those strategies, make those things actually work?
Right.
Because really, we have both of them, right? In the same industry, same business, we'll have people that are succeeding and some are not. And it's phenomenal how much you can change in your physical world just by working on yourself. And it's great, the stuff that you do. It's amazing. Yeah. And you primarily you work with women, I guess? Is that
mostly? Yeah, I'm certainly not exclusive with women, but that has been over the last 7 or 8 years who I've worked with primarily.
And do you help women with the business side of things as well as weight? Like, is it overall lifestyle?
I don't specify. So from where I stand and the experience that I have, when we work on becoming a better thinker, it applies to everything. So I don't say to people, oh, well, I'll work with you on mindset and becoming a better thinker related to this area, but not this area, right? Like, we're just becoming better thinkers. There's no way to separate whether that's related to business, or it's related to money, or it's related to relationships, or it's related to self-care. When we become a better thinker, it touches everything. So I don't differentiate. Like, I don't say, oh, it's only for this area or for that area. Becoming a better thinker is for everything.
Yeah, it's for everything. It's like a foundation, right? Like the transition. I never knew our thoughts were so powerful. I read Think and Grow Rich. I know about all this stuff, but knowing something and doing is such a big difference, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And the fact that
every single excuse that we make, every procrastination we justify, every frustration that we submit to, it is a direct result of how we think about things. So you will continue to make the same excuses. You will continue to procrastinate. You will continue to do all of those things, whatever they are for you, until you think differently about it.
It all starts with the thought, right?
Yep.
And that's such a good point, that you're not actually targeting, okay, financial or fitness or faith, whatever. You're saying, you know what, fix your thoughts. Yeah. That's your foundation. It's going to help you in all areas of your life.
Exactly. And the beautiful thing is, yes, most people do come to working with me with a particular goal in mind. Like, I want to be healthier. I want to start a business. I want to get out of debt, whatever it is. But the reality is that when they do this work, life gives us so many opportunities to practice. We don't just want to practice becoming a better thinker with money, because we're only going to have so many chances in a day to choose different thoughts about money. But when we make the practice universal, we have thousands of opportunities to practice every day, which means thousands of opportunities to get better. You're going to get better, see improvements much faster when we're applying this strategy, these approaches to everything instead of just one area.
And do you guys do help with like corporations as well? Like, you can go into a business and consult them as well as a business? No.
Nope.
And when you said the weight loss that you had done previously, this was part of the entire conditioning, your thoughts, working on your thoughts and everything that helped you get to that point?
I think that's where I realized that I didn't have a food issue or a weight issue. I had a thinking issue. Now, if you look at me from the outside, I mean, I'm 5'5" tall. I was over 350 pounds. And I really was sure that I had a food issue. You would have looked at me and thought, she has a food issue. But I had a thinking issue with a eating result, right? My thinking issue created a ripple effect on my food choices, but it wasn't a food problem. It wasn't that I didn't know that binging on Mexican food and ice cream wasn't going to help. I had a thinking issue. I justified excuses. I told myself stories that were not based in full truth, but rather like a permissive corner of the truth. And that's how I realized, okay, what I need to focus on for the first time is, how do I think about things? How do I make decisions instead of what decisions am I trying to force myself to make?
Not reactive. They're actually in control of their thoughts.
Totally.
And the business, you also have the podcast, but you also do, I guess, mentorship coaching that you work with women on a separate.
It's changed a lot in the last year. And it's funny, it's impossible for me to have a conversation about mindset or the work I do without the context of how 2020 changed my life, how 2020 changed my business. So like a lot of people, I thought 2020 was gonna be a great year. I was pregnant with my first child, had a healthy, great, wonderful pregnancy, delivered a beautiful baby girl. And when she was 14 days old, she died unexpectedly.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So not only was that the most significant moment of my life and the most life-altering thing that has ever happened to me. The most painful thing, I've lost a parent, I've been through loss, but losing a child is a very unique thing. And not only were we walking this path of very unexpectedly and traumatically losing our daughter, we were doing it in a global pandemic where we live, liquor stores were essential, but funerals were not. Funerals were inessential. And we couldn't gather our family together. I was 14 days postpartum and I couldn't even go into a store to buy clothes to wear to my daughter's funeral because the stores were closed. And I say that because never in my life have my thoughts and my mindset become more critical. Like, yes, they were powerful in helping me lose weight, and they were powerful in helping me build a business and grow a business, and they were powerful in building relationships and all of these things. But I tell people, these aren't mountaintop strategies. Like, when life is good, we can focus on mindset. No, these are valley strategies. These are most important when things aren't going well, when you aren't sure what to do or where to go. So in the aftermath of that, I made a lot of changes to my business. You kind of look at your life and your world very differently after you lose a child. And even though it hasn't even been a year since she was born, I am 7 months pregnant with my second child, a son. So it's been a lot, and it's constant mindset work regarding fear and anxiety and anger and confusion and all of this. So the podcast is the primary thing that I'm doing right now with my business. I have a productivity and fulfillment journal that I've made available, as well as my book, Chasing Cupcakes. It's been out for a few years, but I have put on pause a lot of the the kind of more direct client work that I've been doing, which I think every business owner should do for seasons. I had to learn the hard way that there's seasons of push and there's seasons of patience. And we can't always be in a season of more is more and growth is the best thing. So for 2021, my business looks different, but it's funny because it opens up a lot of doors. I'm hoping to finish my second book before baby number 2 comes in just a couple months. So things are busy, and I'm still doing all of that mindset work. I'm just doing it in different ways than I was a year ago.
Yeah, and first I just want to start by saying I'm so sorry to hear about that loss. I can't even imagine. I have 3 kids. Can't even imagine, that kind of a feeling. And you're so strong for going through that, and that way of thinking and being, living from inside out, not outside in.
Yeah.
It makes such a huge difference that you were able to kind of work with that, right? Like a healthy person and vibrant and actually doing your business. So it's great. I'm so happy to hear all that has been happening with you. But this name got me, the Chasing Cupcakes. What is this about? Can we talk a little bit about this?
Sure. So Chasing Cupcakes is my first book. It came out over 2 years ago now, and it chronicles the tools that I used to lose 130 pounds and pay off over $100,000 in debt while starting a business, getting a divorce, all of these big life-changing things. The tools are applicable to everything, right? These are mindset tools that are applicable to starting a business. They're applicable to relationships. They're certainly applicable to health and fitness. But yeah, I wrote that a few years back, just telling the story of how I shifted from the constant struggle, trying a million different approaches, quitting all of them, starting again, always beginning again, never really finishing. I called it a journey of 1,000 beginnings and no end in sight. And how I shifted from being really unsuccessful, despite a couple decades of trying, to finally creating success there in a way that didn't feel like an uphill battle, didn't feel like a struggle. So yeah, that's what Chasing Cupcakes is all about.
Awesome. That's amazing. So it actually has tools that people can actually use by
Yeah.
it's not just reading a book, putting on the shelf. You actually have exercises and tools that they can follow to help
Yeah,
them in their journey.
there's about 200 questions in the book that I want the reader to ask themselves. Every single chapter ends with questions to ask yourself, because ultimately I see that as one of the most accessible and tangible tools to change the way you think, is to ask yourself better questions, different questions. And that's what breaks the mold, the pattern, the routine of our habitual thought.
Yeah, it's so true. And this mindset stuff, like for me, I never thought of it as so serious. Like I was hearing about mindset, motivation, inspiration, all that. But I didn't know how deep this actually goes, and the fact that you have to make so many changes within, or actually realizations about who you are first, that can translate to what happens in your physical life. Mindset stuff and the training and doing these exercises, especially questions and answering these questions, it opens up stuff that's going on inside you to add some clarity that you can change your mindset for the future. So this is incredible. And this is available on Amazon?
Yep.
On your website
Amazon
as well, I believe.
Yep.
Right?
Amazon, Audible, Kindle, all of those kinds of things. Yep. And my website, of course.
On your website. So any other plans for any other new ventures coming out soon?
The biggest thing is finishing book number 2. That is the priority. I'm hoping to have that wrapped up and off to my publisher within the next couple months. But that's the big thing. I just released the Productivity and Fulfillment Journal maybe 2 months ago. So that's been huge. That blew up. So staying steady with that and the podcast and the next book.
So you can't share anything about the next book, right? I guess.
So it's similar in that it's a collection of tools, but for me, it's tools from the trenches. So I started writing this book 2 weeks after my daughter died, and I had no idea it was going to be a book. It started as me coaching myself through impossible moments. And what I realized when I was in this lowest place of my life, like worse than I could ever imagine, was that most mindset or self-help books and strategies and tools felt so out of reach. At that point, it was way beyond where I was. I was at the get out of bed, eat, take a shower phase. I was not at the, more advanced phase of big leaps and big changes. And so I started writing to myself tools for these dark moments. And I realized that most people, like I did with chasing cupcakes, put together this information after. But for the people who are in it, who are in the struggle, they often need something that's for the struggle, not a reflection on after the struggle. And so that's really the crux of it, is tools for the trenches, the day-to-day stuff, whether it's a divorce, whether it's a job loss, whether it's loss of a loved one, whether it's depression or any number of other things. How can we help ourselves in those times?
Excellent. Is there any kind of thoughts or any type of recommendations you could give someone, maybe in their job or looking to become an entrepreneur or self-employed? Mm-hmm. Any kind of suggestions, recommendations you can provide our audience?
If somebody wants to either grow a business or begin a business, the most important thing is to know who you want to help and how, and not in generalities. I tell my clients all the time, specificity is a superpower. Every time I talk to somebody who feels stuck or feels overwhelmed, they lack specificity. They're thinking too generally. You can't just say, oh, I want to help people lose weight. How? What are you going to do? Who specifically? Ages, demographics, type of person, whatever. Same thing, I want to help people grow their businesses. Who? How? You must be specific. If you are not specific, you are just traveling a path to overwhelm or not knowing what to do next. The other thing is, know yourself and your skills. It is a misnomer to look at somebody who's been in business for 10 years and they have a podcast and they're on social media and they have a blog and they have a course and then think, I have to do all these things. No, you don't. Start where you're strong. If you're not a good verbal communicator on the fly, no, a podcast is not a good idea, right? So many people want to generalize podcasting is hot. Well, it's hot if you love it, if you're a great verbal
it's your passion
communicator. If you're not, then don't do that. If you're somebody, and there's no shame in that. If you think, well, I do better if I can kind of formulate my thoughts and write them down, then great. Do something online that's written, whether that's social media or it's a website. It doesn't matter at all. If it's email based, do what you love. If you hate Facebook, don't start on Facebook. No, you do not have to be there. There is nowhere you have to be. These are all limiting stories. We tell ourselves, know your skills, know what gets you excited, and do that only when you have a really clear idea of who specifically you want to help and how specifically you want to help them.
Very good. Great advice. Thank you so much. We always like to ask our guest also what you feel your inner superpower is that got you to this point.
I think that it is realizing everything can be thought about differently. I never go with my first thought. My first thought might be, I can't do that, or I don't know how to do that, or I don't think I can do that. But that's just where I start. I see that as a starting point, not an ending point. So for me, knowing that there are always other perspectives, there are always other ways to see things, there's always more to learn that I don't yet know. So I don't make a decision based on my first thought. Our first thought is always a reflection of our patterns, right? The way we've thought about things before, the experiences we've had.
Habitual.
And if you want to grow, you can't continue with the same way you've always thought. So I would say if I had a superpower, it is realizing that my first thought reflects where I've been, not where I'm going. And so I've got to make space and give time for lots of other ways to think about it that are not like, well, it's either this or it's this. If it comes to me that quickly, it's based on my past. It's based on my pattern. I want to say, well, how would so-and-so think about it? Or what's a totally off the wall way to think about it? If it were possible, what would it take? I'm always looking to think differently. And I think that helps me move in different directions.
That's excellent. Excellent. It's your perception too. You're taking advantage of and trying to find out. And you, honestly, you master your thoughts, right? That's the key. You're mastering your thoughts. That's one of the best recommendations that we got from this. So I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. And I wish you all the best and all the success and everything go well with the baby coming.
Thank you.
And stay in touch.
I will for sure. Thanks so much for having me here today.